The morning unfolded with an eerie stillness. Even the birds, it seemed, had chosen silence. Through the hospital window, the soft hum of life was barely audible. On the side table, a bouquet of lilies, James's quiet, daily ritual, remained untouched, their fragrance drifting faintly, almost like a memory itself. He hadn't slept in days. Each breath she took, he counted. Every blink, every twitch, became a lifeline. And though the fever had broken, Diep lay unmoving, suspended in a terrifying stillness that whispered of absence more than peace. Then, something shifted. It began with the softest rustle of sheets. A breath, deeper, steadier, rose from her chest. James, half asleep in the chair beside her, snapped upright, heart-hammering. His eyes locked on hers as they blinked open, adjusting to the early morning light. "Too deep," he whispered, his voice trembling, as if speaking her name might break the spell. She turned her head, brows furrowed. Her lips parted, not in recognition, but in bewilderment. "Who are you?" The question, quiet but sharp, shattered him. He froze. "It's me, James." "I've been here, every day," he said, reaching gently for her hand. "You're safe now." "You're awake," but she didn't react. Her eyes, wide and empty, held no trace of him. "I don't remember you," she murmured, her voice hollow. A suffocating silence engulfed the room. Still, James managed a small smile, though his chest ached. "That's okay," he said softly. "You don't have to remember everything today." Later, the doctors would confirm it: partial memory loss, a consequence of prolonged trauma and dangerously high fever. Years, perhaps more, were simply gone, erased like footprints in a storm. James stood amidst the wreckage of their shared history, stunned and adrift. How do you rekindle love when the one you adore looks at you like a stranger? But he did not leave her side. Not that day. Not the next. He spoke to her with patience, never pushing. He brought her their old photo albums, told her their stories, the boat ride where she fell asleep in his arms, the time she tried to cook noodles and nearly set the kitchen on fire. She would listen, sometimes chuckle, always politely. But her eyes held a distance he couldn't breach. One evening, her question sliced through the quiet. "Why are you doing all this for me?" James paused, his voice trembling with truth. "Because I love you. And once. Not so long ago." "You loved me too." She held his gaze, then lowered hers. "I'm sorry. I want to remember." "I just don't know how." That night, James stepped into the hospital garden and cried beneath the fading sky. Not because she had forgotten, but because he remembered everything. yet love, real love, doesn't retreat. The next morning, James returned with a smile and a fresh bouquet. "Hi," he said warmly. "I'm James. I heard you like daisies." She tilted her head. "Do I? You used to," he smiled. "Maybe you will again." And so, their love story began again, not as a continuation, but as a rebirth. No expectations, no deadlines, just presence. Weeks passed. One afternoon, while strolling the garden, she suddenly stopped. "I had a dream," she said quietly. "There was a man. He held my hand like this. And looked at me like nothing else mattered when I smiled." James inhaled deeply. "What did you feel?" She stared into the distance. "Safe." And for the first time, she held his hand, not out of courtesy, but connection. In that moment, James knew. Memories fade, but love, genuine, patient love, has a way of finding its way back. He stopped trying to revive the past. Instead, he built new moments. He brought her sketchbooks. She didn't remember her afternoons spent drawing beneath a village tree, but her fingers remembered. The lines came naturally. Sometimes, she'd pause, gaze at her drawings with an odd flicker of recognition, before it vanished. James remained close, reading to her by the window, sometimes her favorite books, sometimes love letters he'd written during her coma. One day, as he read a quiet poem, Diep looked up. "Did I love you?" she asked. James's breath caught. "Yes," he said, gently. Very deeply. She hesitated. "Did I say it all the time?" he whispered. "But more than your words, it was how you looked at me, how you believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself." She blinked, emotion rising. "It must hurt, watching me like this." He took her hand. "It does. But I'm not here for who you were. I'm here because you're here. And I'd rather start from zero with you than have forever with anyone else." That night, a nurse wheeled in a small music player. James had requested it. Soft piano melodies filled the room, one she used to play on a dusty old keyboard for the chickens and the stars. She didn't remember, but her fingers tapped along to the rhythm. A single tear traced down her cheek. "I don't know why," she whispered, "but this music. It makes my heart ache." James closed his eyes. "Because it's yours. It always was." Little by little, not through logic or memory, but through emotion, Diep's soul began returning. One morning, brushing her hair before the mirror, she spoke without turning. "James?" He froze at the doorway, coffee in hand. "I had a dream. We were in a field of sunflowers. You held my hand, and I wasn't afraid. James's voice cracked. That's real, he said. It happened. We went to my grandfather's farm. You told me whenever life got too heavy, just close your eyes and remember that field. She looked at her trembling hands. It felt so real, it was, and then, she turned to him, eyes beginning to truly see. I want to remember you. Tears welled in his eyes. Then let's fall in love all over again. And they did, gently, day by day, not chasing what was lost, but embracing what could be born again. Because sometimes, love doesn't wait for memory. It rebuilds it, in the end, what truly remains. Too Deep's story isn't simply about memory loss. It's a revelation of what lies beneath memory, what endures when everything else is stripped away. When she forgot the man who loved her most, James didn't step back. He stepped closer. Patiently, silently, and in doing so, he reminded us, love is not just something we recall. It is something we choose, again and again. He didn't love her for recognition. He loved her for the quiet, sacred act of simply being there. Of showing up, even when his name no longer lit a spark in her eyes. How many of us love only when we're seen, heard, celebrated? Real love doesn't keep score, it waits. It holds. It believes. And though Too Deep had forgotten much, her name, her story, their shared past, her soul remembered the feeling of safety. Of being held. Of being cherished. That's what love leaves behind, fingerprints on the heart. So, if you're in James's shoes, loving someone who no longer remembers you, don't despair. You are not invisible. You are building something greater than memory. And if you are like Too Deep, lost, unsure of your identity, know this. Those who truly love you won't demand you remember. They'll stay until you feel safe enough to begin again, because the greatest love doesn't demand understanding. It patiently helps you write a new chapter, one breath, one heartbeat, one morning at a time.